Welcome to the Pinnacle Take podcast with renowned recruiter and podcast host, Benjamin Mena. Get ready to take a ride with this dynamic network of professionals and seize the coveted chance for personal and professional growth.
I am so excited about this episode because, first of all, I've got the chance to meet this guest in person, in real life, which, that doesn't actually happen too often. But here's what's cool, is his story is one that I really haven't seen before. But his story is also backed up with being a top biller year after year and a brand new member of the Pinnacle Society. So Dario, I'm excited to finally sit down with you and have this interview.
Not more excited than me, man. You're definitely a lot taller in person than you are on the screen of my phone. But no, thank you very much for having me. It's definitely a pleasure. I was a little starstruck when I saw you.
Starstruck, man. You're a brand new Pinnacle member, and I'm like, hey, hi. I'm just kind of here to hang out.
Yeah, but I have like an hour commute each way to work, and one of the things that I do is I either listen to audible books or I listen to your podcast. So to meet you in person, I was like, whoa.
I think that's going to be the theme of 2026 and 2027. Like, what can you do in real life? And we're going to talk about that. Like, we got so much to cover. Let's just dive right in. First of all, I got to ask this. What was this, yesterday that you had 21 CFOs together?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So you had 21 CFOs drive all the way to your office to sit in a conference room. I mean, these are CFOs. These are people that are super busy. And at 8 o'clock in the morning, not for a pitch, not for a panel, no speakers, no sponsors, no sales deck. 21 CFOs sitting in person on a workday. Most recruiters can't even get a CFO to return an email. What do you know that they don't?
It was more about adding value to them, right? So if I would have said, I want to sell you a candidate, come and listen to me, I don't think anybody would have showed up. But it was just about creating value, because when I'm on the phone with these guys, whether they're telling me about a job that they need help with or just guidance, some of them ask me like, hey, what's a good ERP that I should move into? Or, hey, we're having issues with our bank. What bank do you know of that we can move to? Or our internal auditor just keeps on screwing up. Do you know any internal auditors? I really don't. So I was like, you know what? Why don't I just put a bunch of you in the room and you can ask each other? Because most networking events that you see, it's 3 speakers, you get to hear from them, maybe 10, 12 questions asked to them, and it's done. Like, if you don't get your answer in or your question in, or you don't meet the exact person you need to meet to ask exactly the problem that you have, and they have the solution for it, you're not going to get the solution to any of your issues. So I said, you know what, just let me create something. I'll put the topic as AI, because I figured everyone would definitely show up to that. And they did. I mean, I invited 31, 25 confirmed. And then I had to pull the invite from 3, which I feel really bad because we ran out of space. So our admin was like, look, if the fire chief ever walks in and they see that many in here, we're going to have a problem. So that's why I had to reduce it.
Oh, so I got to ask this because these are CFOs. These are super busy people. They stopped what they're doing, drove through Miami traffic, which is freaking horrible.
And I'm 41 miles north of Miami. So I people that came
even worse.
Yeah.
Traffic's even worse. All these people. So let's take a step back. Was this invite the very first time that you had conversations with most of these people? No.
Everyone that I invited, I've known for a while. Like, there's one guy there that I literally met 15 years ago when he was the CFO of a company down here that I placed someone with. So that's my longest lasting relationship. But everyone, so I was looking at the math. So 13 out of the 21 I placed, 9 were clients, and I didn't place them. But that's my relationship with them. But yeah, it was the first time that I ever created something like this. So I was very nervous because I didn't know if they were going to show up, if they weren't. But it was a great meeting.
I want to take this a step back because, we always talk about recruiting is a relationship business.
Yeah.
Most of these people that you had in the room, how long have you known them? On average.
Let's see. Randy, 9 years. Danny, 6 years. Ryan, I placed 12 years. Brandon, I placed 10 years. Kingsley, 4. Carlos, a year. the Bond, 9, 7, 8, 9, Richard, 7, Daniel is here.
So this is relationships that have been compounding over the years that you finally just decided to like try to add even more value.
Yeah, I mean, so like what ended up happening was one of the CFOs that I placed, he called me. He's like, "Hey, man, I use this bank every single time that I have to make a wire. It is the most annoying thing. I have to call, I have to get it validated. They ask for a PIN. They have to call me back. What bank can I use that does this?" And I was like, "Dude, I have no idea." So then I called one of the CFOs and I asked him for guidance. And he's like, "Damn, yeah, like my bank does that too." I was like, "Well, that's not helping." And then I called a third and he's like, "Yeah, like this, I don't want to name any banks, but like, yeah, this bank, that bank can do it." So I called him back and I was, "You know what? What else do you need help with?" He's like, "Well, what are other people doing in AI?" I was like, "All right, there's my topic." So then I first called, and if I got him on the phone, I explained like, "Look, this is what I plan on doing. I'm going to have someone that implements AI at a private equity firm to be just, he's not presenting. He's just literally there, the same as you. He has his issues too, because you guys are his customers. You know, every portfolio company has a CFO. He's got to deal with them. So hearing, what other CFOs outside of his own private equity firm helped him understand like, okay, we're not the only ones dealing with the exact same issue, because that's his only audience, right? So I told him that I'd have them, and then I don't know how many I was going to have, but I needed to know their ERP. I needed to know the bank that they use and the auditor, just in case, because if one was changed, one of the CFOs wanted to change their auditors because they were dropping the ball, and their fees were absolutely insane. Like every single time they pick up the phone to just make an inquiry, they got billed. And it was just ridiculous. Like, why did you change to this model? So they wanted to switch. And they asked me, like, what's a good audit firm? I was like, I don't know. So again, like that's why I put that one. And then
I got to unpack this because like they're not calling you for recruiting help. They're calling you just for actual problems that they have that has nothing to do with actually recruiting, but you are so connected within your niche, your space, that you've become the go-to person for all the information.
yeah, and I'm sure they have others, but yeah, I'm definitely one of those. Yeah.
Okay, let's unpack this a little bit. So like you also told me during the pregame that you've never made a cold call.
No, not at StevenDouglas. No, at my last firm, I did one cold call. The guy put me on speaker. I never made another cold call ever again. It was the most embarrassing thing in my life.
So how long have you been at StevenDouglas?
I joined in April of 2014, so a little over 12 years.
How many placements?
Here, I track everything. 448.
How much in billings for the firm?
Total billings, 14.49 million.
Personal is what?
7.33 million.
Every person, an industry trainer over the years has said that you need to pick up the phone, smile and dial. What is everybody else doing wrong?
I don't think they're doing anything wrong. I mean, like there's firms out there that have a model and it works, right? Like Robert Half is very KPI driven. They track your calls, everything else, right? So it works for some of them. For me, it doesn't. I'm not comfortable cold calling. I'd rather make a connection with someone, and then they know what I do. And as long as I'm adding value in some certain way, they're going to call me. Right. So the reason I don't cold call and the reason I get so much business coming back to me from candidates that work, from clients that became clients because they were candidates before, is because I treated them the exact same way that I treat them as a client. I give them the same respect. I call them. Put yourself in their shoes. Imagine you lose your job, right? And you're a controller or CFO. Every recruiter in the world wants to speak to you when you have that job, right? Because you're going to give them business. The second they lose that job, everything changes and they realize, okay, the only people that are calling me back are the ones that still think I'm employed. But if you treat the individual like a human being, that you want to help them, they're going to remember that. And when someone's unemployed, even though they've never been a candidate, like a client of mine, I always reach out and say, look, I'm looking, I'm trying to help you. How's the search going? Well, I interviewed, blah, 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 but it didn't go well. Tell me what happened. They'd walk me through and then I'd coach them like, look, maybe it was this and you dodged the bullet. Or, hey, look, you said this, maybe leave some of this behind because it's hurting you, right? So when they land jobs, whether it's through me or not. I mean, most of my clients today, I never placed, right? Ever in their career. But they've continuously come back to me because they know that any candidate that I sent to them, I treated the same way that I treated that, right? So they know that I'm very honest, and sometimes, to a fault, right? But I'm going to give them real advice, and I'm going to try to help them as much as possible.
And we're going to break this down later, but like you said, in the last 3 years, you shot this over to me, 63% of your searches that you've closed has come from candidates who later became clients.
Yeah.
I think so often, and the reason why I want to bring that up, like so often we're chasing the new business, but like, can we go deeper on the candidate side and have that turn into the BD engine? So anyways, we'll go into that deeper later, but you told me something that on the prep call, the pregame, that I don't think I've ever really heard a top biller like explain it that way. You said even the best recruiters alive are making 40 to 50 placements a year, like max, which really means that it's 50 great days out of 220, and the other 170 are quiet or brutal. Like you're Pinnacle Society, you're one of the top. Like I haven't heard somebody actually admit it this way.
Yeah, so it's actually worse. The numbers are actually worse. I was actually doing some math. It's 250 like business days. And let's say you do 40 placements, right? So you're talking about 210 days. Those are your quiet days, right? Because if you think about the placement, and if you're averaging one placement a day, that's 40 placements. That's 40 days. What do you do with the other 210? Some of them are quiet. You've got nothing going on. Some of them, you got a candidate that failed the drug test that you had no idea that would happen. You have a candidate that ends up calling you 2 days before they're supposed to start and say, look, unfortunately, I accepted another role, or the counter offer, right? So there's going to be a lot of really bad days. So if you only look out for the great days, those are maybe 30 to 40 out of the year, you're going to drive yourself insane. You have to be able to understand and how to survive in the days that are quiet and the days that are going to hit you in the face. And it's really about bouncing back and being kind of normal with things going wrong. And you can't beat yourself up because sometimes it's not your fault and you can't control it. But if you go into this every single day thinking I'm gonna make a placement and it doesn't happen, it only happens 30 to 40 times a year. Every day you go in, it's not going to happen 250 days. You'd be insane to think that. So it's more about the mentality of understanding, like, one placement can change your entire month. But one bad thing that happens in the month shouldn't change how you feel about this job or how you feel about you as a professional. It happens. It happens to all of us, whether you bill 100,000 or 5 million. It happens to all of us.
All right. That was good. Can we just end the podcast? I'm just kidding. So for real quick, Dario, for everybody listening, give us let me take a step back. Let's rewind the tape. Quick 30-second self-introduction so everybody knows who you are.
Yeah, I'm Dario Furman. I was born in Argentina, even though I look like I'm from Ohio. I do speak Spanish, which does help me in Miami and the supermarkets. But I came here when I was 3 with my mom only. Harsh immigrant life, but I graduated from the University of Florida with a bachelor's in accounting. I went to a big 6 audit firm right out of college because that was the plan. I mean, if you think about when I graduated, it was 2008. It wasn't, or 2007. It wasn't the best of times in the economy. So I took a stable job. That was the goal, right? Like mom brought me here to the United States to get an education, to get a stable, safe job. But I realized quickly, I really hate this job. I was the most social person in the room. I didn't enjoy the job. And that's when I got a call from one of my fraternity brothers from University of Florida that said, hey, do you want to go and recruit? And I remember having the call and thinking, yeah, you could have called me with any job and I probably would have taken this call. But I'm like, okay, what's recruiting? And obviously he explained it to me. I was like, I didn't even know that job existed. Sure, I'll go for an interview. I think that was in February or March. Ended up winning the job, and my start date was in June. The goal at the time was to join a company called CSI to start in Jacksonville, get trained after a couple months, and then take what I learned to build out an accounting and finance search practice in Orlando. Day one was tough because I was driving from Gainesville to Jacksonville, which is not the best drive.
There's always
the
a
second
speed
day,
trap.
no, it's horrible. Thank God, no speeding tickets, but it's a very boring drive. And knowing that I had to go back at night, and I was leaving at, that first day I left at 8 p.m. I remember, and I remember calling my mom, thinking like, I love what I'm doing, but damn, I'm gonna work hard. Like I thought I was gonna work less in public accounting, but it didn't happen my first few days. And then my second day, that's when the guy that hired me was like, look, just stay in my apartment. So that's what I did. I didn't have to drive back. On my third day, I get called into a room, and I'm like, all right, he's going to give me some feedback. And I see human resources. He's like, Dario, fortunately, it's not working. And I remember my face turning bright red, and I could feel like the tension. I was just like, oh no, like, did I do something? Like, did I say something? And he's like, look, it's nothing that you did. It's just, you don't have the communication skills to be able to do really well in this, in this practice. And I remember thinking like, wow, like, you pulled me out of a really safe career. You are having me stay in your apartment. I was driving from Gainesville to come here in 3 days. Like, okay, fine. Like, I didn't know what to say. I was embarrassed. So I got in my car and started driving back to Gainesville because I didn't know what else to do, right?
Let's take a pause. Let's get back to this in a second, because I think this is a super important story. But I want to talk about your mom real quick, because I think this is super also important. You came here, your mom brought you from Argentina when you were 3.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, my mom.
Tell me about her, and tell me about the empanadas.
Yeah. Yeah. So my mom met my dad 20 years before I was married. So she had 12 miscarriages in that time. Yeah, that was tough. And then she finally had me in 1984. So literally 19 years and a half after she met my dad. And then 4 months later, my dad died in a car accident, unfortunately. So no, my mom Argentina wasn't the best place, right? So she brought me here to the United States because my uncles on my dad's side lived here. We moved in with them. But then after a few days, unfortunately, we got kicked out on the streets. So I could say I was homeless, but I don't remember. But no, I mean, she was a grinder, man. She sold empanadas. That's how she started to make money. I remember her waking up at 3 or 4 in the morning, making empanadas of dulce, of guayaba and queso, which is phenomenal. Spinach, chicken, and she would just go out in the streets and grind. She was a nurse in Argentina, and then she was selling empanadas here. So to give you an idea, she was not making empanadas in Argentina. But you do what you do, what you can do to make a living, right? And no, I mean, I learned a lot by watching her. And I mean, like, she passed away 10 years ago from cancer. But like, when I look at my kids, I'm like, man, I hope to God that I can be like half of a parent what she was. And that's what I try to emulate, right? And I think a lot of my hard work is printed into my DNA because of watching her, right? But no, she was the strongest person I've ever met.
So when you quit that finance job, what did she tell you on that phone call?
I mean, if that's what you want to do, yeah. I mean, I'll whatever you want to do, I'm with you. But you're leaving a very safe job. But at the end of the day, like, you have to follow your heart.
I want to jump back to day 3 of recruiting, like the beginning of your career.
Yeah, what a great day. Yeah.
Like,
no, I mean, so to go back, I was driving back to Gainesville. And that same fire that I got from my mom, where I was like, nah, I'm not quitting. No, like, I'm not going out this way. And then I pull over to the side, and I just started writing on my phone, and I bypassed the guy that hired me. I just went straight to like the president, and I was like, look, give me another shot. I know I can do this. There might be some bias in there or whatever it is. Let me go back. Let me work for free. Let me show you that I can actually do this job, and I promise that you won't regret it. And no reply for a few days. And then I think it was on Friday of that day, because I was fired on I think a Wednesday. And he's like, look, legally I can't bring you back for free, but I'll pay you $500. Which my starting offer with them, I think it was like $37,000 or something plus commission. I started out at $500 a month, and to see what I could do. And I filled my first job with them in 6 weeks. And then I was there for 5 years. And the last 4 years, I was either the top 2nd or top 3rd nationally for perm recruiting.
I got to ask this. What did that guy say that fired you when you're like, I'm back here again? Like, I'm back in the office. I'm back working again. Like, what did he say?
I mean, I bypassed him, right? So he wasn't too happy. So what they did is like, look, it's best that you go to Fort Lauderdale. So I was in Jackson for a very short time, and then they relocated me to Fort Lauderdale to obviously be away from him because I didn't want to be anywhere close to him. So I ended up opening the finance and accounting search practices down here in Fort Lauderdale.
And then they closed the office down the road, right?
Yeah, after almost 5 years. Yeah.
And then you got another recruiting job.
Yeah, through an old coworker. He's like, "Hey man, this place is great." Which at the time, like he was just there a few weeks, so he didn't see a lot. But I remember probably the first week or two, I remember my manager speaking to one of the clients that was a director of financial reporting, and the first half, because you're listening, right? So you're trying to figure out, because for the first time, like I'm getting trained to do sales. In the first 5 years of my job, I never did any sales. I wasn't allowed to. It was just purely recruiting. I had never done any BD. I had never represented a client. I had never done a sales job. And I was listening how to take, a client call or whatnot. And I remember her saying, like, starting off, "The hours here are bad. I've only been here a few months and I'm not really happy. Can you help me?" And he's like, "Absolutely. By the way, I have a senior financial reporting analyst role. Can you help me with that?" "Absolutely. And who's your boss?" She's like, "Why?" "Well, when you leave, I can get that job too." And I was just like, oh no. I was like, what did I do? I was like, this is a nightmare. This is the worst decision I could have made. Like I should have just stayed working remotely, which I absolutely hated, because when the office closed, I was working in my house and I was like, this is my nightmare. And I tried to make it work. I just tried to do it my own way. But that culture continued to try to come back to any of the clients that I would bring in, and it was very uncomfortable. And so I remember opening up the South Florida Business Journal and being like,
real quick, I want every recruiter to like stop, pause, and listen to this, because this is something that I believe, if you are looking for a job, this is one of the most powerful things that you could probably do. All right, now go, Dario.
Yeah, sorry. So I didn't know what any of the search firms were locally, because for 5 years I wasn't looking for a job. I just wasn't. I remember opening up the South Florida Business Journal, and there was a section there for executive search firms. And so I saw StevenDouglas, had never heard of them ever, which is surprising because they've been around since 1984 or 83 actually. And then after that was like, I think Ascendo, and I forgot. I picked the top three. I had learned for the first time how to do an MPC. Had never done it before. So I was like, I'm going to MPC myself. I put a resume. I put my billings for the first 5 years with CSI. I put what I did in the first 6 months, which I built 166,000 with S&I. And then I sent it to the three firms. I got 2 interviews and I got 2 offers. And then I ended up picking StevenDouglas. But yeah, that's what I did.
This really caught my attention. Like, why did you choose StevenDouglas over the other one?
The tenure at the time when I had interviewed, the team back then was probably 6 people, but all of them had been there for a minimum of, I think back then it was 5-6 years. And today our average tenure is 9.6 years. And the average recruiter has 17 and a half years of experience. So that's not kind of normal, right? And back then, I was looking like culture. I need the right culture. There's no way that they're doing this there and people are just content and they've been there that long. And I was right. Thank God.
I want to go next into about how you actually run your recruiting desk, because I think it really breaks a lot of the rules, or how people think about doing their business. Because you golf with your clients, you go fishing with your clients, you smoke cigar with your clients, you know their kids. Most recruiters they call you all the time, and there are many calls where you're not sitting there talking about recruiting. So many recruiters are like, "Hey, you're leaving money on the table if you're not talking about this." You're not asking, why is not asking the whole point?
And they know what I do. I don't have to tell them what I do. At the end of the day, look, if you think about the art of recruiting, right? With all the tools that you have, right? The pin, Claude, whatever, you can find the exact same accountant that I could find. A recruiter in India can do it, right? But it's the relationship that I have with them, right? Either as a client or as a candidate. And that's the reason they call me, is because when I call any candidate that I send them, they know that I vetted them. They know that I'm treating that candidate with respect, and that I'm not going to send them someone that is going to ruin the relationship that I've been developing with that person for a decade. So they can buy from anyone that they want. I'm not cheaper. I'm probably more expensive than other firms, but they don't mind paying the price because it's a relationship that I've built. I don't have to ask. Like today, one of the CFOs, I couldn't make it to the event. She called me and she just took a new job through another firm as the CFO of a huge private equity backed company here. And she's like, look, I'm trying to hire a controller, but we're having an issue. We want to pay 180 and this is the job. And I told her, you probably need to pay probably 200, 215. I didn't ask for the business. If she had the funding to use a recruiter, she'll call me. So I don't have to ask.
I want to maybe like set this frame because like, you have the relationships, you have now the Pinnacle badge, you have like a room of CFOs that know you so well. They're all willing to literally say goodbye to part of their workday, come sit in a conference room with you. But this is for like a 25-year-old that is month 6 into a 360-degree desk listening to this. Like, is this something that is duplicatable, or is it just, are you an anomaly that just made it?
I think you're on the wrong desk. I think that your first 4 to 5 years should be purely recruiting. You should not be doing 360 because your candidates that you're going to interview, and that's what you really should be focused on. I think that's what helped me, is that you're only focused on the recruiting side. Because if you're 25 and you're recruiting for a senior accountant, you're going to be able to relate to a senior accountant. In 10 years, you're going to be 35. Those same candidates are going to be 35, but they're going to be directors and they need to hire. So they're going to remember the way that you treated them. They're going to remember that, like, how the process was, and they'll call you because they already know you. And if you think about the sell of selling a job, it's selling the company, right? But at the end of the day, we sell individuals to other individuals. So if you know the personality of the individual and you know it best when you interview them as a candidate, you can easily sell them when you're selling the job, because the job is part of it, but the individual that you report to is the reason why most people take the job. If it's Microsoft, yeah, it's a great company, but if I put you under a horrible manager, your experience at Microsoft was horrendous. It doesn't matter what the business card said. But if I put you in a startup that's risky, but it's the best possible CFO, you're going to love your job, even though maybe the company is struggling to raise money. You'll stay because you're dedicated to that CFO. So that's what I would tell the recruiter. And also, my first 5 years, I recruited on everything under the sun, which was great because I got to like figure out how to ask questions, how to understand like what each company did, what each role did. But it was very hard to build a cadence in a relationship like I do now. So I give you an example with CSI. On a Monday, I might come in and it was a nurse in Nashville. Great. Recruit for it, get a couple, 3, 4, submit, fine. If I submit 3, maybe 1 gets a job. The other 2 that maybe have been great, never speak to ever again in my life. And then on Tuesday, a mechanical engineer in Georgia for Moen. Fantastic. 4, submit. Maybe 1 gets a job, never speak to them ever again. So it was tough because every single day was a different geography and a different practice. And we never got any business from any of the individuals that didn't get the job. The ones that got the job, it was great, but it was transactional. And they don't remember me. We were moving so fast that it was very hard to maintain a relationship because we were KPI driven. And it was like, look, you need to speak to X amount of people, this. And then at the end of the day, it wasn't like, like, how come you don't have this many placements? It's like, because I'm trying to build a relationship. Yeah, but you need to do 20 of these interviews or 30 or whatever it was. But it was like an extreme number. I was like, how do I build a relationship with someone if I have to have 50 calls? That means, 45 seconds? I'm like, how do I, like, they're not going to remember me. Like, yeah, I got in the job, but like, they're not going to call me when they're a manager. Like, I'm one of many recruiters that they spoke to. I just landed them that job. They're not going to remember me. So like, what I would tell them is really focus geographically. Like, if you think about what I've been doing the last 13 years, essentially, is I only do finance and accounting, right? And I only do it from West Palm to Homestead. That's a tri-county area. That's it. I don't do anything else. Like, if someone calls me and says, hey, look, I need a controller in North Carolina. When we have an office in North Carolina, I'll just refer it out there and I'll get a referral for it, right? But I'm not going to say like, yeah, I can find you a person in North Carolina because, and I got this from Scott Lowe. Contingency or retained search is risk management, right? Like that's really what it is. So if you're going to, let's say the fee's $100,000 and it's in North Carolina. Yeah, it's great. It's a huge fee. But what did that cost you? It cost you the opportunity to meet 20 people that you could have met down here that will feed you and feed your desk for the rest of your career down here because you're focused on something that's outside your niche or outside your geography. And yeah, you made a quick buck, but what's the residual? There's nothing to come back to. There's no snowball effect.
I mean, so like talking about the snowball effect, like the 21 CFOs that you had in a room, that is the snowball effect of what you literally just said. So I want to jump into that. Like, so for those listening, like to set something like that up, what did the pre-work look like to get all that done?
I did that like in 8 days, man. I mean, it wasn't like I told you, I was just like a phone call and I got the idea. I was like, you know what? Let me just set it up. I had to first ask my admin. I was like, is the conference room available? I forgot to ask, what's the capacity? And she's like, yeah, it's available. I'm like, all right, book it, order breakfast. Can we do that? Great. And I started calling. Hey, look, I would call the CFOs and I'd say, look, this is what I plan on doing. I need your ERP, your bank, blah, blah, and I'd explain it. And I was like, look, the topic's going to be AI. There's no presenter, nothing. The plan is to put you all around the table because the chance of all of you, getting together and meeting like this, it's going to be really hard. Like maybe you might see each other at the CFO awards that we host down here, but it's a dinner. It's loud. You're not going to be able to really talk to each other. So my goal is to have each of you meet each other. What I told them, and it's true, I look up to them and I admire every single person in that room. And they're phenomenal at what they do, but they have the same issues that others do. And sometimes they don't have a CEO that they can bounce ideas off. And, some of their staff, I mean, they're already inundated with work. It's kind of hard to ask them for guidance. And most of these guys and women don't really know who to ask. So I said, let me create a room where you can ask. So I had each of them, talk about themselves, the company they work at, a problem that they're dealing with, right? And then what they're doing with AI. They all went around. It was supposed to be for 2 hours. We had to cut it off because my CFO had booked the room for 10. So he was kicking us out. But 3 of the CFOs said, can we make it 3 hours next time? I was like, sure. Can you really make it here? And he's like, I didn't see anyone getting up and trying to get out. So I don't think we have an issue. I don't think I sent you that screenshot, but it was just okay, I guess there was a lot of value in that, right? But I never, not once did I say I work with StevenDouglas. Not once did I say I do finance. They already know. They're not in that room for me. They're in that room for them, but that's what I wanted. And I told you this. As the meeting had ended, one of the CFOs was like, hey, by the way, I have a senior manager accounting bro I need your help with. I didn't ask for the business. And then, shortly after that night, I got a text from another CFO saying, hey, I finally got approved for that senior accountant position. Can you help me? I didn't ask for business.
I absolutely love that. So what do you think 90 days out is going to look like from that room, impact-wise?
So I started to do my follow-up calls. What I told them is I'm going to call each one, get their ideas, things to talk about next time and figure out what it's about them. It's not about my ideas, right? The value has to be something that they need and want, not something that I want to push on them. So my next call is which I'll do next week. I'm just prepping kind of all the info for this podcast. But my goal next week is to really call each one and ask, what do you need help with? And I'm going to gather all those thoughts. And then I'm going to create a survey monkey, right? To send to the group and say, look, these are the 9 problems that are evident. Pick 3 that are very important to you. And then when I get that back, that's how I'm going to create it. And my goal is to try to find a bigger room because if that group grows, there's an issue. I don't know where to put them. So I got to figure that out. I want to create something where quarterly they meet and they get to speak about things that they need help with because they can help each other more than I can help them. I mean, there's a lot of things that they know that it's in their head, right? They pass it down to their staff, but sometimes it's a lonely job at the top. The target's always on your back, right? So you have to be the innovator. You have to be the one driving change. Where do they get their guidance from?
I want to switch gears a little bit. I want to talk about KPIs. Because one of the reasons that you said that you stay where you're at, because they're an anti-KPI place, right?
Yeah.
They hate it. You privately track everything. You're a metrics machine hiding in an anti-metrics culture. Explain this to me.
Because my mentality has always been like, you can't fix what you can't measure, right? And that came to me because I remember having a really bad month. Like one of my first, like, I think it was like, I was here for 6 months, and I'd never had like a 2-0 months ever in my career. And it happened. And I was like, I don't know what's going on. Why did it happen? So I remember meeting with my boss, and she said, okay, well, let's work backwards. Where's the issue? Are you meeting enough people? Are you meeting the right people? Are you submitting the right people? Right. So I started thinking, okay, well, is there a KPI that I can work backwards with? Like, I want to build, let's say 400. How many people do I have to submit to a job to get an interview to then get placed? So then we work backwards and then said, okay, well, if I want to place, let's say three people a month, that's 7 client like interviews, right? Individual interviews. And in order to get 7 client interviews, according to my metrics that we were able to measure, you need 10 submissions. In order to get 10 submissions, you probably have to interview maybe 15 people, because you could use someone that you interviewed a few weeks ago, right? But so that's what I did. And then, for the first few years, I did track that, because if I had a really bad month, I can look and say, it wasn't me. I submitted the right people. It was just bad luck, and it happens. But if I do see something like, like I haven't had a 0 month ever again since then, but if I've had a low month, I know that it wasn't because I didn't interview enough people. And sometimes that is evident. I didn't interview enough people. I didn't submit enough, but I can live with that. But living with the unknown, I can't.
And talking about KPIs in a non-KPI culture, like I think earlier today, you shot me this thing, a breakdown of your last 3 years, where you not only have your KPIs, but you figured out exactly where all these closed deals came from. So you said, like, what was in the last 3 years, you've placed 81 people.
Yeah.
You were responsible on the sales side for 46 of the placements. You represented the candidate on somebody else's for 35. Of the 46, you filled 22 yourself, which is a 47.8% self-fill rate. But then it goes even crazier. You went to figure out on the sales side where your placements came from. 11% of the searches came through direct referrals.
Yeah, and direct referrals meaning, like, so one of the jobs that I got for an AI role, I was at a barbecue at a friend's, like a neighbor, and I saw, he introduced me to someone from a private equity firm, and he's like, hey, I need your help. So that's a referral, right? It's like my neighbor referred me to him. So that's one of those.
63% were from candidates who later became clients. Were those candidates that you didn't place?
That I didn't track. I mean, most of my clients I didn't place.
So most of your clients are from people that you never placed, but you did so well taking care of them.
Yeah.
For somebody that's listening, that's hearing this, like, you should do so well taking care of them. Like, is there like a framework that you follow that's repeatable, or is it just like you just being normal Dario that most people don't get a chance to hang out with, where you're just interested in them?
No, I mean, my mentality has always been give more than you receive, right? And just at the end of the day, you're representing a human being. You're not representing a resume. Like I try to bond with them, and I think my mom's death like helped me with that, right? Because it showed that people are human. To that point, I'd never lost anyone, so that truly did help me become better with individuals, because I got to understand them, want to know about their family. Really, now that I have kids, it's a relatable thing. And I always joke, I have a 6 and a 7-year-old, and like they're a lot. So it allows me to also relate with the individual that also may have kids, right? Or if they haven't had kids, I can tell them, like, look, you're in to have one, and then think about the second one. But like, it's about relating with the individual, and it's like, I guess the long answer, right, is get to know the person. Don't look at them as a walking placement. If you don't place them, that's okay. They might call you for a job that they need help with, right? You might, and the reason that I love kind of niching or looking at a small geographic area is I'm probably going to deal with this person again at some point. So why not make sure that I put the right kind of presentation and I treat them the right way? Because at some point, they might become a candidate again, or they might become a client. So it's about doing the right thing and just getting to know them as a human. I mean, that's a long answer. Sorry.
I think that's an important answer. And I want to we can keep on going here for a while, but I want to flip gears a little bit and talk about like your AI tech stack.
Yeah.
So walk me through, and like real quick, one of the reasons why I wanted to do this is because you've told me multiple times that you feel so far behind. But then like, I know you, I know what you're doing. And I know a lot of other people. I'm like, no, you're like 15, 20 steps ahead of everybody else. Like you even you showcase what you're doing inside the elite recruiter community. And I think your session is one of the most replayed sessions ever for the roundtable. For those listening, like, I know AI is moving super fast. Like whatever you hear now could be different, like a month or two from now. What does your AI tech stack look like right now?
Sure. So we just started using Pin. So that's really helpful. I didn't even know what Pin was until Pinnacle. Bullhorn's our CRM. I use Claude the most to help with all marketing and sorting candidates and analyzing and tracking. And then MetaView for recording calls. Yeah, that's about it. ChatGPT I don't really use anymore just because it's open loop.
And which one of those do you think has made you like the most money?
Oh, Claude, 100%.
Why Claude? Why Claude?
So like what I used to do for Boolean searches, right? Sometimes I do very specific searches and it has to be a very specific industry. So what I'd have to do is first do the research. What company, let's say if I'm recruiting for, let's say a food distributor and they have to come from a food or beverage or wine distributor. I had to do all the research. Then I had to create the Boolean. And as you remember back in the days, you had to put it in quotation mark and put like Del Monte quotation mark, and then you have to type for 9 days. Now you just say, this is a search. This is the industry. Give me every single organization within a 30-mile radius, and then put it into a Boolean that I can copy and paste into LinkedIn. Like that saved me so much money. And then being able to analyze and tie it into MetaView and say, hey, look, I brought this job in. They need SAP and Spanish and a CPA. Can you search through all my MetaView notes and tell me if I've spoken to someone like this? Because I could have sworn that I did. And it doesn't. Because my memory is not that great, right? I'm like an old man when I'm trying to match. Like I don't match digitally. Like if you saw my folder, it's a stack of folders like this. That's how I match. I really got to get better at that, but that's how I do it right now. And that's why when I saw Reese's like matching tool, I was just like, oh my God, I'm so behind. I'm a dinosaur.
But you're not behind.
Well, so when I went into Pinnacle, I remember telling Amanda, like, I'm so excited for the last day to see like the AI like introduction because I have so much to contribute. I have so many ideas. I sat back there and I'm like, I'm an idiot. I am so far behind because everything that like Matt was talking about, I was like, I didn't even know you could do that. Like, how did he just do that? I felt like my mom the first time I gave her an iPhone and she was like, how do you use this? Like, what is this? And that's how I still feel. But I think that a lot of that has to do with my personality. Like, I love to learn. And that's what, like, I love to ask questions. I love to learn. That's why I listen to your podcast, right? I love all the examples that people give on your podcast, the good, the bad, right? I love to listen to Audible books, right? Like, I always like learning because if you're not, then you're just standing in place.
So I got to ask, I know Reese is awesome. I had him on the podcast. He actually presented at the summit too. What were some of the things that he was doing that you're like, oh man, I'm way behind for those listening?
95% of what he explained. No, literally like everything from, the signal sourcing, JSearch. I didn't even know what JSearch was. I actually just used it and processed it through Python. That was something that Claude taught me, right? So now I'm running the signal for job searches. Like I use, and this is embarrassing, but I used to go into Indeed, then LinkedIn, then Career Builder and search, or Monster and search all the jobs and then put them into an Excel. Now JSearch does it. I'm like, oh my God, like how long has JSearch been around? I feel like a dinosaur. So everything. I mean, all the signal searching, like the candidate matching. I'm like, you should have asked like how many things is he doing that's not that I did know. The list would have been really small.
I remember like sitting down like at the hotel And you were just like showing me what you're doing with Claude. I was like, I thought I was on top of things.
And then you're probably blown away with Matt's presentation.
Oh yeah, Matt was awesome. So Miami was your first Pinnacle conference. You came in as trying to get in. You got accepted.
Yeah.
For those listening that are for the recruiter that's listening right now, that's doing about 150K a year. To get into Pinnacle, you have to have multiple years over 500K. And from what I've heard from Gail, it's like there's a lot of it's now the minimum is 500K, but there's a lot of people billing like 7, 8, 1.2, and that kind of stuff. But the recruiter listening, billing about 150K, and they see this gap to where Pinnacle is. What do you think is the gap? Is it talent? Like, what do you think is the gap, and how do you think somebody can close that gap over time?
I mean, I wasn't billing Pinnacle numbers either, right? Like I was them at some point, because looking at my billings, right? Like to give them some guidance, I didn't bill 500 until 2019. I joined here in 2014. That's how long it took me, right? So you can't get anxious and think like, oh my God, it has to happen. Just as long as you put in the work and you surround yourself with top billers that, are there or beyond, like you want to be the dumbest person in the room. And that's my goal, literally. And because I want to learn from others. And that's what I did when I first started at StevenDouglas. And that's why I picked here. It's because I wanted to be surrounded by the best. Like, how are they billing at this level? The first few days, I just listened. What I would suggest is take the best from each person, leave behind the things that aren't you or aren't working, like you just don't feel natural doing, and try to apply it into you. Eventually, it will snowball. Because if you want to do this, and then like next year, I'm going to do it from 150 to 600, could you do it? Sure. But did you do it the right way? So you got to really put in the work, be patient, right? It will come. And like since 2021, I haven't billed less than 760 something. Like, am I working harder? No, I'm not. But it's gotten to the point where the job is much easier because of all the work that I did years prior.
Love it. I think that's a perfect place to jump to the quickfire questions. But before we go there, like, I know we've talked about a lot, and like we're already at like the 50 something minute mark. Is there a question that I should? No, all good. Like, this is my problem. I can't do anything short. I always look up and I'm like, oh crap, I'm already at 50 minutes. Crap. And I know like people are listening at the gym or in the car or that kind of stuff. But is there any question that I should have asked you, or is there something that you want to go deeper on before we jump over to the quickfire questions?
No, I was really thinking hard about this. Not really. I mean, most of it you've asked, to be honest.
What does the Pinnacle Society mean to you?
Again, trying to be the dumbest person in the room. I want to learn from them as much as possible. I might be ruining one of your questions later, but I don't know if you knew this, but I found out about Pinnacle through a book. That's how I found out it exists. And I read that book in I wrote it down somewhere. Yeah, I wrote that in 2014. 2016. That's when I read Rory's book, Take the Stairs. That's one of the sales guys that he had interviewed in the book spoke about how he was in Pinnacle and that was his goal. And I was like, what the hell's Pinnacle? So it to me, it's, being surrounded by individuals that are better than you and that you want to learn from at all levels. Some of them manage their own firm. Some of them are just by themselves. Some of them are like me, right? Like Mike, like a huge firm, and they have this huge team. I want to learn from each and every single one of them. I didn't know I was far behind on AI until I got there. I didn't know, certain things to push back on clients or, new ways of billing a client on a committed search, things that I didn't know. I learned a lot here, but for anyone who's part of a small team, it's a phenomenal place to be because you get to be surrounded by people that are better than you, and that's what you want. You shouldn't be scared of that.
So you listen to books, you don't read them just because you're probably in the car a lot. What's one audiobook that you think every recruiter should listen to?
Man, it's easy. Winner's Dream by Bill McDermott. That was the co-CEO of SAP. Now he's the CEO of ServiceNow. It's just about building relationships. That book taught me so much without me understanding what it was teaching me. Like, I just thought it was an autobiography. Like, man, that's so cool. Like, this guy went from selling Xerox machines to being the CEO of SAP. But The secret message is don't sell. Build a relationship with the person. They'll buy from you because you have a relationship with them, not because you have the best candidate or the best Xerox copy machine. They can buy from anyone they want, but because you built a relationship with them, they'll want to work with you. Doesn't matter what your price is because they want to buy from you.
Picture this. It's Friday afternoon, 4:45 p.m. A candidate turns down your offer for a better one, something that you just can't control. Something popped in. What do you actually do that night?
Congratulate them and I'm wishing them the best. I mean, I go home, it's another day, right? I mean, it's going to happen. It's one of those 210 days that is bound to happen. And then how I bounce back from that, which maybe that's a question. I call them and invite them to lunch. I want to congratulate them because now they can become a client.
What do recruiters obsess over that doesn't matter at all?
Number of placements.
Why?
Can't control that. You got no control over the number of placements. Control what you can. And that's the amount of people that you meet, right? The people that you submit, like worry about those things. Don't worry about so much about the number of placements. Like it's a horrendous KPI to look at.
What do they ignore that matters immensely?
Value add, relationship.
So one of the things that like we talked about in the pregame was it's a question that nobody's really like actually sat down and asked you. And the question was like, what does it take to be a top producer, a top biller? I want you to give me the real answer and not something that looks pretty on LinkedIn.
No. I mean, that's in the beginning of your career, it's work harder than everyone else in the room. If people show up at 8, show up at 7. If they leave at 5, leave at 7. And invite all of your coworkers, any of your competition, right, out to lunch. Learn from anyone that you possibly can. Ask. Never be scared to ask questions. You kind of have to put yourself out there, and it's okay to ask the person that you're speaking to and open up and just say, look, I don't know how to do this. Can you tell me? A lot of people don't do that. And that's what helped me is if I didn't know something, I would ask. And if they thought I was dumb for asking, then so be it. But I want to learn and never stop wanting to absorb as much information as you possibly can, and never, ever do something that you wouldn't want to be published in the newspaper the next day, right? Like that's what keeps you ethical. You don't want to do something that is it's a good paycheck, but is it going to cost you nights at sleep? Like I have some fall-offs. Everybody has fall-offs, but they're for the right reasons. I would never want to fall off for something that I knew was going to be one because it was a bad client, or if I knew that the candidate was not a great person. It's just do the right thing, work harder than everyone else, right? Never stop asking questions and give more than you receive.
For anybody that would love to connect with you or follow you, what's the best way to do that?
LinkedIn, email. It's really up to them. I'm glad I have taken a bunch of calls, especially after that presentation. I spoke to a bunch of them. So yeah, they can definitely reach out.
I feel like we're going to have to do encore next year. And my little kid's saying encore instead of again, which is kind of funny. He runs around, encore. But man, I feel like there's so many different ways we can dive deeper, but this is like the intro to that second sit down the road. But for somebody listening, is there anything else that you want to leave with them?
I mean, don't quit. This job will hit you in the face a lot. It is one of the toughest jobs out there. But at the end of the day, you have to look at what you're doing and truly understand where you stand in the universe. You're helping individuals find jobs to better their family. You're finding a solution to a team that really needs an individual to really help them take the company to the next step. We look at it as kind of a paycheck, a placement, but you really have to look at it as what value are you creating for the world? When you're little, they ask you, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? All of us want to be firemen and all this stuff, right? No one ever says recruiter because none of us know what it exists, but we add a lot of value. But our job is really tough because either side can say no. They can jump out at any point that they choose. And you really have to be able to really love what you do in order to survive in this job very long. Because there are days that you'll say, I hate this job, but you'll love it more than you hate it.
When in your career did you hit the point that you fell in love with it, even with it being hard?
By the fourth day or the third day I was fired, and it was more of like, I know I can do it. I don't know. It's weird. I've never looked at this job as a sales job, which is the weirdest thing to say. I don't think this is a sales job. Like, I call people, I explain a job, a company that I'm passionate about, that if I was a candidate, I would actually work at. And then when I'm speaking to a client and I have to sell a candidate, I connect to my candidates. So I don't look at it as sales. It's just like, look, this individual is special. Here's why. These things aren't on a resume. Trust me. You hired me to find you someone, but you also hired me to listen to me. Like, there's a reason why you chose to work with me. So you might not hire them, but you'll never regret interviewing them. So it's, I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, but let me go deeper on this real quick. So, like, you're a Pinnacle Society member. You've been billing over $700K for years now. Do you think all that would have come true if you didn't get fired on day 3?
I was scared you were going to ask that. I hope not. Because then that gives credit to that guy. I don't know. Looking back, I'm glad it happened, right? Because it added fire, but I think I was born with the fire. So no. Like, truly no.
If your mom was still alive, would she be like proud of the journey?
Oh yeah, of course. 100%. Yeah, 100%.
And I know you didn't say this on the part talking about your mom, but you said you spent weeks living homeless under the bridge.
Yeah, I was poor, man. My mom's first car was a Toyota with a hole in the passenger side, so I had to put my book bag in the back because it would fall through the hole, which happened once. We learned the hard way. Yeah, man, I grew up really freaking poor, dude. Very poor. Like, my mom. So I was gonna talk about this earlier and I forgot. So when I was little, my mom would make me bread, like toasted bread with pasta and like mozzarella. Freaking loved it. It was like on Fridays. It was like my treat. Years later, she's like, I did that because I didn't have any other food. Like, that was the pizza, because she had nothing to cook for me. And I was like, Jesus, like that was like my favorite treat. And like this poor lady sitting there like, this is all I have to give my son. And I guess I work really hard so that I don't put myself in that position. But man, like that, I don't know how that lady didn't cry in front of me.
Wow. For the listeners, this is your year to go all in. This is your year to go deeper on those relationships, add the value, take an idea, put together a roundtable, do something different. Do something different. Because doing something different and adding that value can literally change your entire desk. So Dario, I just want to say thank you so much.
Yeah,
Glad we got to meet in person. Glad over at the Pinnacle Society meeting. Glad that you got to be part of that roundtable. And I'm glad I got the opportunity to share your story. For the listener,
thank you.
Go crush it. This is your year.